Hit the shower, grab your coffee, and get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? Like the big voice lady just said, you are listening to Wisconsin Sports Weekend right here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I am Charlie Uczen, got my guy Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass over there, as always. Jack, how you doing, my man? It's been a busy week for both of us, right?
We've been doing a lot. Stuff the bus is going on, and it feels great to help out people in need.
Awesome event yesterday out at the Metro Markets. Happens every year. Sparky was out there. Elizabeth and Radar with the mix. We're out and about at different Metro Markets across southeastern Wisconsin. It was a really awesome event. Raised a ton of money, bought a bunch of lunches and meals for people in need. So awesome event going on there. Thanks to Jack for being the promo guy for it. It's always a good job. You know?
Big thanks to Feed America.
Exactly. Here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, though, we go through everything you may have missed in this past week of Wisconsin sports. We're going to talk about some Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk some Milwaukee Brewers even. Some big offseason news with them, re-signing Brandon Woodruff to his qualifying offer of $22.5 million.
Might have overspent.
Might have a little bit, but we'll dive into that in the second segment of the show here. We're going to dive into some Milwaukee Bucks talk as well. Right now, we are seeing them kind of place out in the middle of the Eastern Conference, kind of middle of the league in general. We're wondering if you feel comfortable with where they're at right now as a team, even without Giannis on the floor. As always, we got Warlocks Locks happening in the second hour. We got a brand new set of cards, some awesome cards in there that we're happy to share with you. And the Warlocks got some amazing picks to make. And as always, we'll close off the show with the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl, where we go back and forth, share everything you may have missed outside of Wisconsin sports as well. To start off the show here, though, I wanted to dive into some Green Bay Packers talk. This weekend, they take on the Minnesota Vikings, the first of 3 straight division games for this Green Bay Packers team. It's really going to be a gauntlet to end the season here for the Green Bay Packers. The Vikings are the easiest of the 3 teams in the NFC North that the Packers will have to face. Jack, just kind of off of the basic perception of this game so far, where are you at with how you think the Packers are going to do in this game against a team that isn't the best, but also we've seen them lose to the Panthers. We see them play a really close game that shouldn't have been as close as it was against the Giants last week. How are you feeling about this Vikings team?
I mean, you've got to feel a little, positive that JJ McCarthy doesn't seem to be the quarterback that they drafted him to be. Injury prone, and it looks like, sometimes you see sparks, but a lot of the times you see interceptions or bad reads. I think you got to be positive on that outlook, but they've got a healthy Aaron Jones who wants to get in the end zone. He told us that this week, that he is salivating to get a Lambeau Leap, which hurts my soul as a Packer fan. But I think these 2 games were kind of, to me, even before the Giants game, we need to kind of take a page out of your Bears book and just learn to win ugly. Like you said, you named some of the teams we lost to, Panthers, Browns. Those should have been games that we could have just won ugly. And good teams do that. Eagles put up 10 points against us. Look like crud, dirt on offense. Couldn't do anything. Still got the win. That's what good teams, very good teams that we're going to see in January in the playoffs are going to do. And if we want to be where we want to be, which is at the top of this division, it's our opportunity to break or make the season. And you got the Vikings, that should be a W. But then you got, the Lions. So you can win those 2 games. my outlook on this season is very good, even though we have not looked good on the offensive line. We have not looked consistent on offense since Tucker Kraft went down. But I feel like we get a win this week.
I'm with you on that. I think when you bring up the outlook on the season, I don't know if too many people are fully negative on what's happened this season for the Green Bay Packers. I think the biggest thing is what you brought up after that, and that's the consistency for this team, not only for the offensive line, but the consistency for the wide receivers, the consistency for the defensive front. I think you're looking at a defensive line right now that didn't look nearly as good as they looked in the first 3 weeks of the season. You've seen Rashawn Gary get snaps taken away from him for a Kingsley Enagbare, which is apparently something that's been happening every year. It's just hard to notice because the Packers defensive line, even when Rashawn Gary is out there in the past 3 seasons, hasn't exactly been that exciting.
Who?
Your favorite guy, Rashawn Gary. Everybody knows him, right?
He's on a milk carton right now.
That's what it feels like sometimes. I mean, with Rashawn Gary and Devontae Wyatt and Lucas Van Ness now coming back from injury, that should help that group out. But then you're surrounded by a lot of other just really young players that haven't been able to step up in that group. And I think this is something where Micah Parsons can get burnt out eventually. The young linebackers that have been playing really well are starting to make mistakes a lot more often than I think we've become accustomed to with those two players.
Yeah, penalties on both sides.
And Quay Walker. And you talk about the inconsistency on the offensive line. And I think a majority of that stems from the fact that you just don't have guys in the same spot, which is really hard to control because Zach Tom keeps coming in and out of these games on a consistent basis for the Green Bay Packers. Elgton Jenkins is now out for what is expected to be probably the rest of the regular season at least. You have Jordan Morgan playing in 10 different spots, and he hasn't exactly looked world-beating in any of those spots that he's played.
Could have had Cooper DeJean. I remind Sparky every day that he made fun of me via text. Every time I said, have you seen this guy dunk in basketball? We need to have him on our defense.
Yeah, but also he's not like, I get it at the same time, but Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and you look at Terry and Arnold, all three of those guys have not been able to carve out like for sure roles with their teams. They've been young, exciting players, but they're not Pat Surtain. There's like the Packers wouldn't have passed on Pat Surtain if he was sitting there. They're not a JC Horn when he's healthy. Like those are for sure corners. Yeah, we can talk about how they could have had Cooper DeJean. They could have had a Terry and Arnold. They could have had a Quinion Mitchell. Yeah, that's awesome and all. But the Eagles traded for a Jair Alexander, a guy who hadn't played well. And when he did play, or when just wasn't on the field in general for the Ravens for a majority of his time there, because they weren't comfortable with their defensive back room. I mean, yeah, we can keep playing hypotheticals. Sure. But Jordan Morgan's on this team now, and he has to play for this team.
Yeah. And it doesn't look great right now.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I don't know if he's playing in the right position, if that's the problem he's facing at this moment. But I think with this Green Bay Packers team, this is a perfect game to walk into Lambeau against a team that is struggling in the Minnesota Vikings. They seem to can't pull out these last-second wins like you're talking about. They've blown a lot of close games so far this season and just dominate. Go out there and be the team that we saw in the first couple of weeks of the season. Go out there and be the Green Bay Packers team that people recognize throughout history as just kind of a dominant team, except for a little blip in like the 80s that people don't like to talk about.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't. About that. No. I'm too young for that. I only know the Packers as
My
good.
Dad's told me about the hard years.
I only know the Packers as good. And I think a lot of people watching football right now want to see the Packers play this consistent style of football that we just aren't seeing from them. They can either look really amazing and then just look like the worst team in the league. The next drive, it feels like.
I heard someone on the NFL Network put it this way. They said the offense can sometimes look like it's untouchable, and then other times it looks like it's lost. And it's kind of been the same way for our defensive front too this year.
It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that is Jack Pembroke over there, and we are asking you, who needs to have their best game of the season on Sunday for the Green Bay Packers as they take on the Minnesota Vikings? This is a game that I think there are a lot of guys that need to step up for this Green Bay Packers team. You have a lot of players that are going to be injured in this one. You're going to be missing some very important pieces, potentially on the offensive line, potentially on the defense. Quay Walker is a guy that has been in and out of practice, got hurt at the end of the last game against the Giants. That could have a big impact on this team. Jack, if you had to pinpoint one person that you're looking at to step up a little bit more in this game, have the best game of the season for them, doesn't have to be a star player. It could be Emmanuel Wilson, who could be stepping in for Josh Jacobs at this point.
You might have just taken the words right out of my mouth. That's one person I'm looking at, but I kind of have a inkling that Josh Jacobs might get some handle in this game. And he he's been moving around. The knee shrunk down 60%. So he seems like he'll at least try. But I think in Emmanuel Wilson, at the start of the season, he's been a good change of pace back. He's been able to grind out hard yards when we need him to on short yardage plays. He's not a bad receiver. But I think, to me, the person who wins us this game, like you're talking about, a game where we can look dominant with the run and play action and put points on the board, is not a running back. It's Christian Watson. My struggle with the Packers offense has been, when we get in the red zone, like you said, the offense has looked really good. The offense has been able to get down the field. Once we're in the 15-yard line under, I get really worried. Now with a healthy Christian Watson, he gives you so much in terms of height for jump balls and fades against DBs. I think Jordan Love and Christian Watson have to have a 2-touchdown game for me to be like, okay, this offense is cooking.
I get where you're coming from, I guess. Just with Christian Watson, because he started the season on the injured list, has only had the 4 games prior to this. He's going to come in here and hopefully have a great game like you're talking about. Last week he had 2 touchdowns. A couple weeks before that, he's had some of the biggest catches in those games, or biggest moments in those games. The Eagles game is probably the only one that he hasn't really looked like he's come in and been at least that 1.5 wide receiver that I think the Packers fans are always looking for this team. He seems to be the guy that Jordan Love already trusts the most, especially since Romeo Doubs in that pass game couldn't catch a ball to save his life. That was a big issue.
And we had the illegal formation on the big catch that Watson had on the 10-yard line that would have probably put us up.
Exactly. I think these are situations where, yeah, I'd be excited if Christian Watson had his best game of the season. But I think there's other players on this team that maybe are more important to have their best game of the season. And Christian Watson, I think, can go out there and play a huge impact in a game like this. But when you look at the rest of the wide receiver room, don't you want to see any of these other guys come in and kind of step up a little bit?
I'd like to see our first draft pick do a little bit. Just call some plays for Matthew Golden, please.
It would be nice.
I traded him away on our fantasy league for Tet McMillan. That was a win for me. But it's like, come on, Matthew's alone and shy and needs, let's throw the ball to Matthew Golden this week.
I guess, but it kind of pains me a little bit, and why Matthew Golden, I'm calling on him personally to have his best game of the season. I don't think it's on Jordan Love for him to have his best game of the season. I think partially it's on Matt LaFleur to have Matthew Golden his best game of the season, but I think it's on Matthew Golden. He has to find ways to get open faster in a lot of these routes that he runs.
Sure.
And I think when I'm watching Matthew Golden and this Packers offense play out right now, they just don't trust their offensive line enough in order to get the time for the wide receivers to get open in certain routes. And they send Matthew Golden on a lot of deep routes that he does a really kind of poor job of separating from his defensive back.
They're lazy routes.
I wouldn't say they're lazy routes. I would just say that he doesn't have that skill set yet.
Okay.
And you're running an offense that doesn't really involve him if he's not ready to be able to do that at an NFL level at this point in his career. If he's a guy who can break out down the sideline and catch a deep ball fade that can kind of get him yards there, can run these post routes that we've seen him do really well so far this season, then he also needs to be able to do kind of the more intermediate routes that we haven't been able to see him to do. He has to do a few whip routes where he goes in and cuts back out to that sideline like Romeo Doubs is really good at. If he wants to start getting these plays, he kind of has to put himself into position to do so. And part of that is doing that in practice and showing the coaching staff that you can be in those positions. When a Romeo Doubs is dropping 3 very important balls in a game against the New York Giants,
that's your opportunity, right?
It should be the perfect time for you to step into that Romeo Doubs role and say, you know what, I can do this too. Maybe we can find a way to rotate us around to give Romeo Doubs more opportunities to get open so people aren't just sniping him in the 3 routes that he runs really well. And then also gets Matthew Golden into different parts of the field that I think could really benefit his style of play. So for Matthew Golden, I think this is a very important game for him to step up and try to be that number 1 wide receiver. Last week, I thought maybe Luke Musgrave could step up and be that guy who replaces a Tucker Kraft. I don't think he can. This is a Matthew Golden who has that skill set to be able to score from anywhere on the field. If you give him the ball, you just got to get him the ball.
True.
This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. Next up, we're going to dive into the Milwaukee Brewers re-signing Brandon Woodruff. starting pitcher. He pitched phenomenal when he came back from the injury list last year. We want to see what you feel about this signing and whether or not it's a good or a bad thing for the Milwaukee Brewers. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I am Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there, and we are on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys are just tuning in, you missed us to talk about the Green Bay Packers and expectations against the Vikings this upcoming Sunday, and which players we expect to have big games or need to have a big game. If you still want to get in on that, feel free to hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 to get in on the show that way. We are also live streaming on X, on YouTube, everywhere you can find us on social media. We are not live streaming everywhere you can find us on social media, but we are everywhere you can find us on social media at WI Sports Radio. Again, WI Sports Radio. We did want to dive into some Milwaukee Brewers news here. Last week, the Milwaukee Brewers extended the qualifying offer to Brandon Woodruff of $22.5 million. A few other teams in the league went out and extended qualifying offers, and a few other players took the qualifying offer along with Brewers starting pitcher Brandon Woodruff. So he was along with Shota Imanaga, Gleyber Torres, and if we head on over to the New York Yankees, Trent Grisham, outfielder over there. All four of those players accepted their qualifying offers this past week. Jack, this is a deal that I think is well beyond anything the Brewers have ever given out to a starting pitcher. $22.5 million is a lot of money to pay to a Brandon Woodruff who's spent a majority of the past 2 or 3 seasons on the injured list. What were your reactions to him accepting this and even the Brewers just giving it to him?
So I was never very confident in math in school. I was, a gentleman C+ to get through, but I'm looking at games played last year. That's a pretty good number for 12 games. 22.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, I guess, but also at the same time, like Brandon Woodruff pitched phenomenally last year.
He did.
When he's healthy, he is one of the best pitchers in the league. I'm not really worried about the amount of money, I guess, that's there for Brandon Woodruff. I think he deserves to get paid as one of the top tier starting pitchers in the league, even if he does spend time on the injured list. If he can pitch an entire season this year, he's going to get probably $22.5 million from any other team if he can stay healthy for an entire season. What I'm more worried about is whether or not this affects the rest of the offseason for the Milwaukee Brewers. So it's not really directly the money paid to him. It's the fact that $22.5 million is already gone.
Yeah, you don't have that to sign someone else.
The projected budget here. Do you feel like this is a situation now that they've kind of gone out and locked up a Brandon Woodruff for one more year that the Brewers have handcuffed themselves at this point?
Maybe. In the offset, we talked about how they've said they're going to be spending lots of money. They're going to be spending more money. Hard for me to believe.
Kerr, owner of the Milwaukee Admirals, part owner, minority owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, was the one who came out and said that on Wisconsin Sports Daily.
Well, that's news to my ears because I'm not used to the Brewers saying, hey, we're going to have a really exciting offseason where we're going to, throw monopoly money at people. But you love to see it, especially how we performed last year. We were kind of need to spend a little bit more money to bring some players in, I think.
I think so. And I think this Milwaukee Brewers team throughout the last season, especially at the trade deadline, a lot of people were calling for them to go out and trade for a player like Eugenio Suarez, a guy who's a power hitter, in order to give themselves a little bit more of a boost within the lineup for this Milwaukee Brewers team. And he's a guy who's available as a free agent this offseason. He's a little bit older, but he's going to cost a lot of money that I don't think the Brewers are going to be able to go out there and spend or be willing to go out there and spend. We look at Mark Adonasio and his goals for this Milwaukee Brewers team, the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers. And I think a lot of times, and this goes for almost every owner in professional sports, we have to sit here and wonder what their main goal is. And I think for Adonasio, up to this point, it has always been to make as much money as possible for a small market team. This is not a squad that I think some people believe in as strongly as true fans of this team. What we saw last season and what I think we've seen for the past couple of seasons from this Milwaukee Brewers squad is that they've been at this point in their organization where I think they can win. I think they can go out there and win a World Series. I think that the Atlanta Braves went out there and proved that for a team that if you are willing to just go at least 1 year all in, it can lead to a potential dynasty if people can stay healthy. I think with this Milwaukee Brewers team, what they have to decide this offseason, Jack, is whether or not this is a situation where they feel like they're ready to take that next step. Do you feel like the Milwaukee Brewers are ready to take that next step?
Well, in some ways, if you're willing to spend that much money, that's a good step in the right direction for me as a Brewers fan, because if they are going to outspend what they've done in previous off seasons, that at least shows me that we're not just trying to sell tickets for an entertaining summer of the Brewers, where we're trying to win games in October.
Our guy Q over in the dugout chat says, honestly, I was downright shocked by how excited Sparky was about Woody accepting the offer. Dude has been injured more than Yelly. Now our top 2 paid players, 40% of the payroll, are hurt regularly. I guess I get it. And I understand that this is a situation where, you're looking at a lot of the star players on the squad. And it's not even just Yelich and Woodruff. Yes, they're the 2 highest paid players on this team, but everybody gets injured on this team. It feels like it's a struggle every year to get through an entire grueling season where you have a majority of this roster be able to stay healthy. They're not as lucky as what feels like the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers had a lot of injury problems this season as well. I think this is a situation where Brandon Woodruff, re-signing him and giving him that money, yes, even though he's injured, is, like Q says in the chat again, step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a situation where the Milwaukee Brewers just have to continue to take steps in the right direction. Feels like in the past, 2011, 2018, they took steps in the right direction. They got to a point where it was just like, it's not worth it anymore. And then they took steps back in order to kind of rebuild. At some point here, you have to say, yes, we're getting through the grueling part, but you have to take those next steps in order to give yourself a chance. And I think this Milwaukee Brewers team has a chance, and they need to take advantage of that chance, Jack.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways for them to catch lightning in a bottle late in the playoffs is to have players that should be well paid, and you need to bring players in that can win you those games late in the season.
Well, and talking about players coming in and being important later on in the playoffs, later on in the season, that was something Sparky brought up with Brandon Woodruff when he was talking about this on Wisconsin Sports Daily, like Hugh was saying. He said that they're giving this money to Woodruff so that when they do get to the playoffs this year, he can be the guy to finally be that frontline starter that it feels like they haven't for sure had. And I know Freddie Peralta was phenomenal last season, but when it came to the playoffs, it wasn't the pitching we're worried about anymore.
No,
and I think, yes, adding a Brandon Woodruff into this rotation, it'd be awesome. It'd be great. It definitely helps you out, gives you a little bit more confidence going into these playoff series, but you still need a bat. And you still need 2 bats maybe that can put the ball over the fence at a consistent rate. That's what the best teams in the league have.
Yeah, you saw it against the Dodgers when they needed big hits, not even including Shohei Ohtani's amazing games. When they needed big hits, they got them. And you have to, sadly, that's what it comes down to in playoff baseball, because they're going to have, when you get to that level, they're going to have as good of pitching and a bullpen as you have. And we just don't have that money. So you've got to be able to generate runs.
Definitely. And I think that for this Milwaukee Brewers team, it's not about like they were able to generate runs. It was just in a way that wasn't meant for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you could see that how often they were just getting on base and hitting singles and walking. It got to them. It got to them. You saw it in the playoffs. You saw that they had those lapses where they were grounding into a lot more double plays than we've seen. Christian Yelich, the entire playoffs, was just popping out or grounding into double plays.
Well, John Frank says you're lucky you beat the Cubs.
Right. I mean, it definitely gives you a little bit more motivation for this next season to take that next step. Yeah, that's awesome that they can go out there and beat the Chicago Cubs. But once they beat the Chicago Cubs, they were burnt out for the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, it felt like for years, we've been trying to get one over our older brother. And then you finally got there and you plateaued. It's like, okay, what do we do
Not
now?
even though, because the Milwaukee Brewers have been the older brother. The Milwaukee Brewers have been the number 1 team in the NL Central for what feels like the past decade.
Yeah,
the Cubs got lucky from 2015 to 2017. Not lucky, but they built a squad that was meant for those 3 years. And outside of that, the Milwaukee Brewers have owned that from that point on. They've been this top team. It's just they haven't been the top team in the National League. And at some point here, you have to take steps to be the top team in the National League. You are the top team in the National League Central. We know that. We have seen that play out for this Milwaukee Brewers team for years now, man. Take that next step.
Just to fizzle out in the divisional series.
Stop pretending like we're a little brother anymore. And Pat Murphy kept doing this all season, and I was fine with it through like 3/4 of the season. I was like, yes, you can pretend like this Brewers team is the underdogs. They got a lot of players on this squad that nobody knows. Like, you could walk down the street in Chicago and ask them who Caleb Durbin is, and I bet you half the people there wouldn't know who Caleb Durbin is. Like, you have a team of a lot of young players that are doing better than anybody expected, but now you're past that. Now you're just a good team. So be a good team, have that mentality, and that starts in the offseason.
Do you want to see them bring up Made instead of like spending more money? Do you want to see them bring up people from AAA and AA?
That'd be cool too. I'd like to see them do both. That's what the Padres or the Dodgers do.
Yep.
They sign people and then they also bring up their top prospects when they're ready. I mean, Jesus Made is not ready yet, but he's going to be ready halfway through the season. I guarantee you, he's going to start the year at AA. He's going to get out of AA after about 3 weeks at AA, get to AAA. He's going to ball out at AAA like he's done at every other level, and then he better be up at the major league level after the All-Star break.
So what are we hoping for? Late July, early August?
About that, like I said, like right after the All-Star break, I want to see Jesus Made up there. But there's other changes you need to make for this Milwaukee Brewers team before that.
Mm-hmm.
You have other issues that you need to address. And I think one of the biggest issues was not the starting pitching. Yes, Brandon Woodruff is awesome to have back in this rotation. And it's really cool to see him come back because he wants to come back because he loves Milwaukee and that he feels like this is finally them giving the respect that he's deserved. But at the same time, you have so little money now because you spent $22.5 million on him. Like Q said, you're paying Christian Yelich all this money. You just gave Jake Bauers $2.7 million for no reason, if I'm being completely honest. Sorry, Tommy.
You've now made it really difficult to fill those larger needs that you don't have the money for now.
Exactly. You don't have, and not that they were ever going to go after Kyle Tucker. Not that they were ever going to go after some of these other star players. Like Cody Bellinger probably wasn't ever in the picture.
Yeah.
But maybe a Bo Bichette, maybe a younger player that has some upside that's maybe had a few down seasons. Maybe some of these other young players that have the ability to make a difference for this Milwaukee Brewers team on the offensive side of the ball.
Who's a player that you would want to see kind of like what we did this year, where we found players that weren't playing well on certain teams and brought in and, kind of had a magic spark?
Well, I brought it up on Wisconsin Sports Daily. This is a guy that was a non-tendered free agent a day after the qualifying offers came out. But in Tampa Bay, they let go of Christopher Morel. He's a guy who's shown a lot of power in different spots with the Chicago Cubs and then with Tampa Bay. But last year and the year before that, he just didn't step into a starting role as cleanly as people had hoped. He doesn't get on base very well, but man, he can rock the ball. And I think that's what the Milwaukee Brewers need. And I think with work inside of this organization where they've been able to build up players like Bryce Trang so far, when they've been able to build up the Sal Freliks over this past few seasons, he's a guy that could probably step into that. But at the same time, I just don't want reclamation projects all the time for this Milwaukee Brewers team. At some point here, it's a cool story, but they only get you so far. Caleb Durbin only got you so far. Caleb Durbin was awesome last year. He's a Rookie of the Year candidate. He's probably going to have a role on this team moving forward for at least the next couple of seasons, but he only gets you to where he got you. Now you need to get players who can get you beyond that too.
So Charlie Uczen, GM, wants us to make a bigger splash on the offensive side in the offseason.
Yes. Yeah, pretty simple.
Love it, Charlie. I love it.
Pretty simple. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. If you guys are tuning in tomorrow afternoon, right after the Green Bay Packers game at 3 till 5, myself and Tommy Wirtz will be on air here at the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network to give you the Green Bay football postgame show presented by Lakeland University. We're going to go over what happened in the game. We're going to let you hear from players, let you hear from the coach, let you hear from Ryan Wood, Green Bay Press Gazette, awesome Packers beat writer. Doesn't have hair anymore, but I'm going to put up the picture where he has hair because I've been doing that lately. He hates it. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
It is the Green Bay football postgame show live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network tomorrow from 3 to 5 p.m. with myself, Charlie Uczen, and Tommy Wirtz. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. When we come back, we're going to head back in talking about the Green Bay Packers and what we expect again in this game. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We'll be right back. How we doing, folks? How we doing? Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I am Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys are just tuning in the first segment, we discussed which players we feel like need to have a big game against the Vikings for the Green Bay Packers this upcoming weekend. In the last segment, we discussed Brandon Woodruff re-signing with the Milwaukee Brewers for that $22 million qualifying deal. And now we wanted to hop back into some Green Bay Packers talk. Designated to return from the IR, as we learned late yesterday, is Jaden Reed, wide receiver for this Green Bay Packers team. At the beginning of the week, he had posted a picture of himself in his full uniform from like the media day, putting on his jersey and everything. So a lot of people got super hyped up over the fact that Jaden Reed could be coming back to this Green Bay Packers offense. And then Matt LaFleur came out in his press conference and shut down everybody's dreams and said, nope, we have no designation for return yet. We haven't said anything. Like, we don't really know what's happening with Jaden Reed up to this point. He looks like he's starting to come back a little bit here, but we have he isn't practicing fully with the team yet, is basically what he said. And then again, yesterday we got the news that he's designated to return from the IR. This is a huge get for the Green Bay Packers, as we've seen this wide receiver room kind of have their inconsistencies and their weaknesses shown kind of at full display so far since Tucker Kraft's injury, tearing his ACL and being out for the rest of the season there. This is a player that can be a really dynamic piece for this Green Bay Packers offense, especially coming out of the backfield as a wide receiver. They like running these end arounds that they've been trying with like Savion Williams, a guy that I know you like, Jack, and trying to get like Matthew Golden more involved in plays like that. But it's really meant for a Jaden Reed. What kind of dynamic do you think he brings back to this Packers offense that they've been missing?
Jaden Reed was our number one guy last year.
For half the season.
Yeah.
The second half of the year, he kind of disappeared and then ended up being one of the worst wide receivers in the league when it comes to drops. But yeah.
So you could argue with me here or agree with me, but he's kind of what he did last year and what he kind of brings back is kind of what they hope Matthew Golden could be for this team. A guy who can run the shallow crosses, run the little Texas routes, and kind of be a guy where a defense has to be worried about him even in a run game or a jet sweep too. And he can be lethal in the red zone. So I think that's kind of what we've been missing. We've been missing sparks in the red zone. We've been calling vanilla play calls in the red zone, Charlie. And I know you're a very unbiased Bears fan.
I try to be.
But even you're great at it. You're a Bears fan I'd watch Bears games with, because I just know you wouldn't be, horrible.
I'm pretty insufferable to watch.
Oh, really?
Game.
Okay. Wow.
I get pretty doomer when it comes to the.
You're like my cousin John Aarons. We'll shout John out. That's how he is during the games. Even when they're winning, he's like, no, we're gonna lose. But I think he sparks a lot of red zone woes in this offense. You've got another body, like we said. We talked about Christian Watson gonna have to help us out in the red zone, but Jaden Reed is just kind of that security blanket that you need now with Tucker Kraft gone, because I know we're going to try and use Luke Musgrave a little bit more, but I just don't see those explosive plays that a Jaden Reed could give you. And I think that's what you need against an NFC North conference game that we need to win. And it'd be great to get a good resounding win in this game against the Vikings and turn that into a great win for Turkey Day against the Lions. I think you get those two wins as the Packers, that's going to put you in first in the North, and it's really going to help you on your later run into December where you want to be for playoffs.
It really gives you that extra motivation. I think you make a great point there that this is huge in order to get this momentum rolling now. And I think getting a Jaden Reed back, to your point, he does give you what Tucker Kraft was giving you earlier on in the year, where you can have that short yardage guy that can make something happen with his legs. And I think the big reason that I think some people are a little concerned is because of those drops that we talked about last season that he had, and that the rest of this wide receiver room is struggling with drops at the moment. But if you can keep him just in short yardage plays, that really probably limits the opportunity for him to drop balls. If it's screen passes, if it's end arounds, if it's slant routes over the middle. stuff like that, where you can get him involved in ways that these other wide receivers can't get themselves involved. We talked about it. Christian Watson is very much a downfield threat. He's a guy who can be a jump ball guy for you. Especially in the red zone. You have a Matthew Golden who's a speedster who can kind of get down the outside sideline. Romeo Doubs is very much within the 10-yard line and out routes, getting back to the outside numbers, like we talked about, Aaron Rodgers mentality that Jordan Love learned from him. But Jayden Reed then gives you that extra opportunity to do more with this offense. And I think, as much as I hate Matt LaFleur running this kind of just skeleton of an offense, no matter who's on the field, and seeing if it works, and then just taking out plays if it's not working, and so that he's just bare bones, that frustrates me a little bit. But what excites me is that if he is going to run this, Jayden Reed allows him to open up that playbook again a little bit more, just a little bit more, but more. And I think this is a situation where the Packers can take full advantage of that, at least against the Vikings, hopefully longer than that.
You hit perfectly with me. We're not going to see him back against the Vikings, but what he would be able to give you on Turkey Day against the Lions for, supremacy in the division is just a consistent target. And you said it perfectly. 0 to 7 yards. Hard to drop those balls because it's basically old school West Coast Packer offense where it's a long handoff, right? We're talking about, and that's what the Packers thrive off is the
putting an athlete into open field. It's putting him into the right position to make a play happen, which is a majority of football nowadays. It's just guys being better than the other guys in front of him.
Play your matchups. Let Jordan Love cook during Toyotathon. We know my dad still doesn't believe in it. I do. It's real. This is not a Toyotathon sweater, but I've got my Toyotathon sweater on basically for Jordan Love. And your hope is with a Jayden Reed, he comes back and he just makes those difficult 3rd and 6 not difficult anymore.
Looks less difficult. Yeah. Exactly. I think that's something this Packers team has done a really bad job of so far this season, is those later downs, they make them look really difficult sometimes. Much more difficult than they should be for a team that's as widely talented as they are. They may not have a lot of the top end talent, but they got talent all across the field, and finding ways to use those talents and get those players in open field in order to just do what I said before, beat the man that's in front of them. Again, I think that's kind of a lot of professional sports in general nowadays, in the NFL, in the NBA. It's a lot less scheme based. It's more just, we have athletes, let's put them in the right positions to be athletes. Now it's about finding what that player is and that archetype, versus trying to fit guys into a system more so. And this Packers team, I think right now is kind of struggling with that because they don't have a lot of top end talent, but at the same time, the talent that you do have, you know what they do best. So put them in those positions to do best. And Jayden Reed gives you an opportunity to at least open up that playbook and do that more often.
GM Charlie is telling Matt LaFleur, use your gadget plays and exploit the matchups.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's all about just using the gadget plays. It's about using them at the right times.
Okay.
It's using them with the right players that you have planned. Because if you are going to run this type of system that Matt LaFleur does, you need to put the right players in the right spots and not just constrict yourself. You need to start moving around. I think there's some coaches across the league that Sean McVay is a great example of this, where it feels like he changes his game plan every week depending on who the personnel is on the field. That also takes a lot of time and a lot of energy that Sean McVay is putting directly into the offense that I don't think Matt LaFleur can afford to do right now. So what you need to do is let the players make you right. Go out there and put the players in the positions within your offense. If you're not going to change your offense that often, put them within your offense in the spots that make sense, instead of just trying different people in different spots and then giving up on them right away.
And you make a good point. LaFleur's from that coaching tree. So you think he's reaching out for advice at this point in the season? Or
he
no?
has to be. I mean, I think a lot of these coaches are just talking with each other. I think McDaniels down there in Miami is probably calling every one of his coaches, making sure he has a job whenever he gets fired, is for the most part.
Hey, you need an assistant coach?
But it's a big fraternity. If you watch after the games, these players, they go and talk to each other, and sometimes they're working moves with each other. There's a viral video, I think it was, of Tamba Hali and Aaron Donald working together. Tamba Hali was showing Aaron Donald this move after the game.
I remember that.
And it was just so cool to see stuff like that. I'm sure coaches are doing the same thing. They go and talk with their friends, talk with the people that they've learned from and worked with in the past, and use that information in order to help themselves out moving forward here. I think with Matt LaFleur, though, at the same time, it's not anything he needs to learn. It's something he's done before, something he's done this season where, again, you see him just let these players go out and play football and just put them in the right positions in order to do that. And this past couple of weeks, again, it feels like he's constricted himself to the point where he doesn't want to test things out. He just wants to run what has worked fully in the past, but you don't have the personnel to do that. And that's what's frustrating, is that now all of a sudden when you get a Jaden Reed back from the IR next week against the Detroit Lions, at least it puts you in the right position with the right players to run that offense that you've been wanting to run. And I think that's where I'm at with this. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sports Book. I'm Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. Tomorrow afternoon, right after the Green Bay Packers football game against the Minnesota Vikings, as Jack very affectionately calls them over there, join myself, Tommy Wirtz, from 3 to 5 here for the Green Bay football postgame show presented by Lakeland University. You'll hear from Ryan Wood. You'll hear from the Packers players and coaches. Jack, if you had a prediction for this game, because this is probably going to be the last time we're talking about the Packers in this episode here, what would be your prediction for the Green Bay Packers against the Vikings?
Well, it's going to be a little bit fanish prediction because I want to see them at least win by 10 to 14 points. So that means to me, they had a steady handle on the game. They were able to run the ball when they wanted to. They were able to get the third downs when they wanted to. And Jordan Love was able to be surgical in the red zone.
All right. So
I know that's a lot of word salad, but that's what I want to see.
From the Wisconsin Warlocks straight there. When you tune into the Green Bay football postgame show tomorrow, the Green Bay Packers will have won by 14 points, at least 10 to 14 over there. And when you stay tuned for Wisconsin Sports Weekend in the second hour of the show here, you'll hear the rest of the Warlocks locks at 10:20. So stay tuned for that. We also got the Wisconsin Sports Weekend pub crawl coming up, so you can hear that at 10:40. But before we get to both of those, do you feel comfortable about where the Bucks are in the East right now? We want to dive into a little bit of NBA basketball. Let us know on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250. You can also hit us up at WI Sports Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We are live streaming on YouTube and Twitter, so join us on there. And we'd love to hear, are you comfortable where the Bucks are right now in the East? It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. We will be right back.
hit the shower, grab your coffee, and get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back in, folks. Like the big voice lady just said, it is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I am Charlie Uczen, got my guy Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass there. If you missed any of the first hour of Wisconsin Sports Weekend, do not fret. You can head back on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you get your podcast, and you can rewind the show on there and listen to us that way, and catch up on anything you may have missed. The video of this episode will be up on YouTube, up on Twitter afterwards as well, so you can always tune in that way as well. In that first hour, we discussed the Green Bay Packers and Milwaukee Brewers. We talked about Brandon Woodruff re-signing back with the Milwaukee Brewers on a 1-year, $22.5 million deal. Should be pretty exciting for the Milwaukee Brewers. Hopefully that changes something in the way that they run their offseason, but I am a little skeptical of that. We also talked about the Green Bay Packers and expectations for this team. Before we dive into some Milwaukee Bucks talk, I wanted to head over to the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250. Guy in the 414 wants the Packers to go back to what they know best. He says defense needs to ball out. If they can dominate and take over the game, offense will be fine. Think game 1 of the season. Rashawn Gary needs to show up and play big. I think that's a great point. I think looking at this team and kind of what I've been mentioning before, it's about resetting. It's about going back and doing what you know you do best and getting back to what we've seen this team succeed with so far this season, Jack. And I think the biggest thing is starting with that defensive front. Yeah, the defense has looked good. They've kept teams within winning distance. But at the same time, you've seen the front seven break down a little bit outside of Micah Parsons. I think seeing some of these guys outside of a Rashawn Gary, is there another name you're looking at that could potentially have a step-up game here?
Yeah, the Luke Van Ness monster. I want to see him look healthy. I want to see him be able to attack double teams on the edge and collapse, and that'll kind of open up Halfley to be able to use and stunt Micah in different positions from different attack points. And that's just when that defense looks like it's supposed to. That front seven looks aggressive. They look surgical. They can collapse the pocket. There's no room for the quarterback to step up. So, yeah, we need to predicate. That's kind of our personality this year. The defense gets it going for offense and has saved our tail a couple of times. But when you have a defense that's holding teams to under 20 points a game, the offense has got to show up too. But I think that the text line 4-on-4 number is correct. Rashawn Gary's got to show up. Luke Van Ness has got to show up. It can't just be Micah all day, every day.
And I think the other thing this Packers defense needs to do is turn the ball over a few times in this game.
Yeah, we haven't seen that this year.
You've watched them again drop 5 different picks against the Giants.
Oh my gosh!
Week,
and we talked about
got one at the end where Jameis Winston gave it to Xavier McKinney, or Evan Williams. Excuse me, he gave it to.
They were fighting over picks.
Exactly. So this is a situation where you need to actually convert those turnovers and make sure they happen. You mentioned it before. That's how the Bears go and win ugly. That's how they win these games, is by their defense going out there, turning the ball over and giving that momentum to the offense, which runs with it.
I hate to say copy the Bears, but in that retrospect, I don't care. If there's a big fat W on the list at the end of the day, I will sleep. This team gives me cardiac arrest. Okay. Just give me a W and my week will be fine.
There you go. We want a calm weekend in the Pembroke household over there.
You.
Let's move on over to the Milwaukee Bucks. So I wanted to talk about this team as they've gone on a little bit of a stretch of unfortunate losses here. 3 straight losses for the Milwaukee Bucks, most recently against the 76ers in an overtime game where Miles Turner looked pretty cool, hit the awesome celebration.
I love that
never
celebration.
Seen anybody hit the derailers? That's crazy. That seems and messed up the
Whoa.
camera by doing the deer antlers.
It didn't know what to do with the deer antlers, man.
It got scared. But that awesome celebration, Miles Turner has gone out and I guess been as advertised. I think a lot of people were hoping he'd be better than advertised. He'd be awesome and be like the second best player on this team. But he's done what Miles Turner does. I think the guy that has surprised most people has been Ryan Reynolds coming out and being as phenomenal as he is. I think the person that's surprised me the most is Kyle Kuzma. I think Kyle Kuzma has come out and been a happy surprise for this team.
He's really dug out a little niche market on our team here for us. And I wanted to trade him so badly at the start of the season, Charlie, but he's making me hate myself that I wanted that to happen.
He's playing his role. And I think you can say that for a lot of guys on this Milwaukee Bucks team. And what I've seen from this Bucks team has been encouraging for the most part, especially since Giannis Antetokounmpo has been sidelined for the past few games with that groin soreness. And I think this is a situation where you can see a lot of players start to take that next step. And hopefully when Giannis comes back, he can help just rejuvenate this lineup. Obviously, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo who's going to do that, but let it turn into wins for this Milwaukee Bucks team. Even with Giannis on the court, they were still losing games at points that I felt like they maybe were in all the way up until like the last 5 minutes of those games. And then we're just finding ways to lose them at points. And it also felt like Giannis was putting a lot onto his plate in order to win these games, which I'm not against. I think that's how it should be. I think Giannis should be the focal point of this team and nobody else should kind of try to be taking that away from him. So then I think that leads to confusion. But at the same time, now that I'm talking about all this positive stuff that we've seen with the Milwaukee Bucks, they're still sitting at 8-8 in the 10th spot in the East right now, Jack. This is a situation where the Milwaukee Bucks, if you look at the Eastern Conference, yeah, they're in the 10th spot, but they're only 5.5 games out of first place.
It's so early. The good thing about injuries and little hiccups with this team right now is I kind of look at it this way, silver lining. The guys who probably wouldn't be able to get as much time with each other because of Giannis being on the court are getting actual minutes now and, at least learning Doc Rivers' system. But to me, it's so early. Talk to me. If we're at the same issues in February, then yeah, hit the panic button super hard. Giannis is leaving us. That's what I'll be saying. But right now it's December. You're 5 games in the NBA is so quick to fix. In 2 weeks, we could look back and say, oh yeah, this is where they went on an 8-game winning streak. And now we're 1.5 games out of first,
I get that. And I understand where you're coming from. And there's always argument that we're early in the season. That's like, honestly, one of my least favorite arguments for a lot of people.
It's a bad argument.
People say it in the NFL all the time. I think that's kind of a crappy excuse in the NFL because you only have the 17 games that you play.
The NBA is so long and it doesn't begin to me till like after Christmas.
Right. And I get that. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. At the same time, I think you start to see the players that are going to be focal points for a lot of these teams start to make that jump at this point in the season where you're at that kind of 15 to 16 mark in the year, quarter of the way through the season for a lot of these teams. And I think that when looking at this Milwaukee Bucks squad, yes, you're excited about all the players taking that next step on this Bucks team. Ryan Reynolds and Kyle Kuzma, Miles Turner doing his job, and a lot of these other players just doing their jobs. At the same time, you're seeing a lot of other young teams in the league take that next step also. You're seeing the Detroit Pistons just run the East. They're leading with a 13-2 record. Right behind them is the Toronto Raptors.
I was just going to say, you were talking Toronto Raptors.
Who the hell saw the Toronto Raptors being, like, even at this early point in the season, that high up in the Eastern Conference rankings?
Kind of feels like the Cavs were a couple years ago, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Cavaliers are really good.
Yeah, I guess, but the Cavs also, I mean, they went out and got Evan Mobley, and I know Scotty Barnes was in that same draft class as Evan Mobley, but at this point in their careers, Evan Mobley's the better player than Scotty Barnes.
Very good.
Evan Mobley might be the best defensive player in the entire NBA. Just
he's
overall.
A great lockdown defender.
He can do everything on that side.
I saw more of the Detroit Pistons being good because, look,
you saw the way they ended last year.
Cade Cunningham is one of the best kept secrets in the NBA. If you don't know ball, he is going to be so good, and he hasn't complained. He's been a great player everywhere he's played up till the NBA. And, people kind of think it's purgatory if you get sent to the Detroit Pistons, but they've been able to put together a very sound team. And it looks like that's we might have to go through Detroit if we want to be the best team in the East.
I'll one up you on the Detroit Pistons. Just a quick sidebar here. Jalen Duren is the most unheard of piece that people don't talk about
Fair
enough.
enough.
He's awesome. He's one of the best offensive centers in the league right now. He's been balling out. Defense is still a little wishy-washy with him. He has games where he looks really good and really bad at other points. But offensively, that's a guy that's just a dog. That Detroit Pistons team is just so well built around a Cade Cunningham, though. They built that team for Cade Cunningham. And I think you're starting to see the Milwaukee Bucks do that for Giannis, too.
Finally.
It was always Giannis and somebody else that we have to build the team around. Giannis and two other guys that we got to build the team around. Because Giannis can't shoot. Giannis can't do these things that we need other people to be superstars to be able to do. But I keep saying this on Wisconsin Sports Daily from 2 to 5 here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. This Milwaukee Bucks team, for the first time in forever, looks like they're focusing on Giannis and Giannis alone. And the two past teams in the NBA championship, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, their whole entire game plan last season was to have a star player and then find 5 to 6 guys who could all score 20 points behind that star player.
Who could come in and rotate and
who could all be the second option at any given point.
Carry the pail of water.
Exactly. You could all have those moments. And I think we're starting to see the Milwaukee Bucks build that type of roster around a Giannis. So that's why I'm asking you folks over there listening to Wisconsin Sports Weekend here on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm asking you, do you feel comfortable about where the Bucks are in the East right now? You can hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250 over there to get in on the show. That way you can also hit us up at WI Sports Radio on YouTube, on Twitter. Both those places we are live streaming. You can comment on there and we can see your comments, talk back with you that way. You can also hit us up on all our social medias. Again, Twitter, YouTube. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can hit us up on all of those. We are live on there in order to get on the show that way. Again, we are asking you, do you feel comfortable about where the Bucks are in the East right now? I would say yes. And I would say yes, mostly because it's so close and so tight in the East. You saw teams like the Chicago Bulls start off really hot at the beginning of the season, and now they're starting to slow down a little bit. I think this Bucks team is built in the correct way for the first time in a long time, Jack.
I hope so, but I think I see that too right now. I think that we kind of know what our identity is now. It's not of last year or the years past where it's okay, it's Dame's turn to run the offense and we're going to run it this way. And okay, well, Giannis is in here and now we're just going to spread out and let him. We still have
Chris Middleton's still on this team. We got to get him his shots, he's still an all-star caliber player when he's healthy, all this stuff.
And I think that's the important thing with guys like Ryan Rollins and the rest of, the ragtag crew is that they're fine with playing second fiddle to a Giannis and saying, okay, well, I'm going to get my points. And kind of like you pointed out with OKC, you have to have 4 to 5 guys that are fine with, hey, I'm going to have to rebound tonight. Okay, hey, I might just get 10 points tonight, but I'm going to have to fill the stat sheet other ways because it's our star players' night to put 40 up or 50 up. And I think this is a more physical Bucks team than it has been in the past. We don't look soft on boards.
Well, I think part of that, the boards, in my opinion, are still a little bit of a problem for this team. You're not seeing Miles Turner be as aggressive in the paint as I think you'd hope he would be. And part of that is because you were just hoping anything would be better than Brook Lopez in the paint when it comes to rebounding. It just felt like he was never in the right position or just wasn't close enough.
He aged out.
You just saw it. Even when he was in his prime, he wasn't ever that great of a rebounder either, so that didn't help.
Yeah, he played a lot of volleyball where he just let the ball back out.
Right. And then Miles Turner was a guy that I don't think we expected to be a big-time rebounder, but was expected to be at least a 6 to 7 type of rebound guy a night, and it doesn't feel like we're getting that on a consistent basis from him. You're not getting that from Bobby Portis. You're not getting that from Bobby Portis. If Giannis isn't on the floor, who is rebounding for this team?
Great
Cole
question.
Anthony? Ryan Rollins? There are 2 point guards, which is exactly where the spot we were in last season.
Your point guard, you want a good sign of a very good point guard in this NBA is someone who can give you 4 to 6 rebounds a game. But you don't want your point guard to be your second best rebounder.
No, unless you're Russell Westbrook, then
yeah, sure, but that's
okay.
That's rare air.
Exactly. But when I look at this Milwaukee Bucks team, to your point, I think they are more aggressive, and I think that is a result of them just being a faster team to like what you were saying about Brook Lopez. and him aging out of that spot. You were seeing a lot of guys kind of age out of that. And I think now we're seeing a team that, again, to your point, a lot of hungry players that are okay being the backseat, okay taking that role and letting, Kyle Kuzma be the guy who scores 30 this time, and Ryan Rollins will get to score 30 the next game.
They're not selfish.
Exactly. My one question then that I have to ask you is, if we get to a point in the season where Ryan Rollins continues to play at the level he is, he's an all-star player. Like that, he will make the all-star game. How do expectations then change if he becomes an all-star? Kyle Kuzma keeps balling out, is given like all defense recognition at the end of the year. How do these players start thinking about themselves, and then how does that break down the team afterwards if that becomes an issue?
I've heard and seen in interviews with Ryan Rollins, he just seems like a team guy. He's, a little bit quiet spoken, but he says all the things you want to hear from a point guard. I just have to play my style of ball. I have to do what's best for the team. And I think for some odd reason, we've found guys that have bought into what Doc's cooking up. And that's, I
don't think it's an odd reason. I mean, it seems like people buy into Doc his entire career.
I mean, he is, I do. Players love him.
That Boston team that he won the championship with, that's a lot of personalities that he had to deal with. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo, Ray Allen. I mean, that's
very much Zen Gen of Phil Jackson there.
That's hard to get people to buy into that when you have so many big personalities on a team. That LA Clippers team, I know, is a much younger squad that he was coaching.
A lot of superstars, though.
A lot of big personalities. DeAndre Jordan is a nice guy, but he's boisterous. He likes to talk. He has fun on the court. Blake Griffin is kind of a goofy guy. Chris Paul is kind of a jerk from what people have said, but he found a way to have them work together for at least a period till injuries just derailed that team. They could never take that next step.
That's what gives me the promise in the future that, okay, we're not going to have infighting. We're not going to have guys who are saying, well, I'm not averaging X. I don't think this is a team that cares.
But how much longer does Doc stick around? And if Doc is gone, because he already retired once, he came back to the Bucks out of retirement.
As long as Giannis is healthy and on this team, he's going to stick around for 2 or 3 years. Doc, if some of our viewers don't know, he's a Marquette guy. I'm pretty sure he likes being in Milwaukee and getting paid nice money to live on Lake Drive and overlook Lake Michigan and Coach Giannis.
Let's bring this back to the question that we had for this segment, though. That is, do you feel comfortable about where the Bucks are in the East right now? If at the end of the season the Bucks are a play-in team, they lose in the play-in round, or they lose in the first round of the playoffs, or they miss the playoffs.
Oh, he's gone.
Then what? Again, you still have to get people to buy in again then to a new coach.
Yeah, that's going to be really tough. My comfortability level is I kind of know that this team's going to be healthier as the winter weather gets here. And as we're looking into December and January, look, we've played, how many games are you saying? 15, 16 games?
16. Yep. 8 and 8.
So look, let's shelf this 8 games from now. If we haven't gone on a 6-2 run, then I'll start to be concerned. It's like, okay, well, if Giannis is back and we're still 500, then yeah, you start to question, okay, do we have the right coach? Do we have the right system? I don't want to see us at a 6th to 8th position going into the playoffs. Yeah, no one wants that. We've said this on the show before. 3rd, 2nd seed, I can live with that. And you can, this East is so open. And that's what gives me okay, it's a bit early. We've been banged up, but I've seen good stuff from rookies and younger, sophomore players and guys that we went out, and Kyle Kuzma looks a lot better than last year. So to me, it's okay, we just have to get Giannis back and we will compete to be a top 3 team in the East.
Definitely. And I'm with you on that. I think Giannis automatically makes this team a championship contender, no matter what. I think when Giannis is on the court. Q puts in the dugout chat once again, our guy, he says, with the Bucks, it's all about personal expectations. If your goal is for them to win a round in the playoffs, they're right on pace. If you expect Eastern Conference Finals, then they need to trade Kyle Kuzma and the picks for his star. I don't know if I'm 100% with you right now.
I want to see more. I think Kyle Kuzma's shown me that he can be an integral 3 or 4 position.
But I look at the Eastern Conference And I say they very much can get to the Eastern Conference Finals based on what I'm seeing from the rest of that conference. The Toronto Raptors are currently the second best team in the East.
That'll change soon.
Like I know you know basketball, my man. That's weird. That's not a team that's built to last that long.
There's not that much parity in the NBA anymore, right?
Despite the Bucks losing games, the past 3 games that they have because Giannis hasn't been on the court, they still played extremely hard.
Been in every game.
They've been in not in every single game, but they've been in 2 of the 3 games that they've
against
lost
good
lately.
teams.
Yes, they've been in 2 of the 3 that they've lost lately. And I think that moving forward here, what I've seen from this team, even in the losses, gives me a lot of confidence for the squad moving forward with Giannis on this team. So I don't think there are personal expectations with this Bucks squad right now. I think, yeah, there are some people that don't believe in them yet, but man, what I'm seeing on the court says that they're a well-coached team. They have 3 to 4 guys right now that potentially could put up 20 plus points at any given moment.
We did not have that last
year. You maybe
year.
want to get to that 4 to 5 range that I think they have. But I think this is a situation where this Milwaukee Bucks squad is showing us that they can compete. And if you add Giannis into that group, man, the sky's the limit.
And a KPJ, like we're forgetting about him too.
Right,
like,
he's coming back eventually too. This is going to be a really fun situation and a really fun season compared to what I think we've had the past few years for this Milwaukee Bucks team. And it's because we don't have these super high expectations at first, but now they're just playing well. They're playing good basketball. Q says, I like the optimism. Miles taking us into OT was huge. And he says, agree on Doc. Doc looks like a new man.
A new man, baby.
This team just feels rejuvenated. And yes, they're sitting at 10 in the East right now. Yes, Giannis is hurt already early on in the season. Yes, KPJ got hurt already. But man, it feels like a different vibe for this team.
It does feel like a different start to the season than the normal roller coaster of, okay, great, we're without Giannis. Who the heck can grab the ball and put up, like you said, we've got 4 guys that can say, hey, coach, I can score for us tonight.
Right.
And we did not have that consistency last year.
When you watch this team without Giannis, it's not immediately turn off the TV anymore.
No.
It's that you want to see what happens with this squad.
That's so true.
And that's something that I think a lot of fans are starting to feel with this team. That's a good sign, man. I'm not worried about where they are right now because I think this team can be better than what the record is showing at this moment. And you see it on a nightly basis.
I'm usually a realist. And I'm with you. This, like, I was just talking yesterday with my dad, who was like, oh, they're 8-8, they stink. And, you know, he's an old school Bucks fan, so he's seen hard years. Mm-hmm. But I was just like, Dad, this team can do things they couldn't do last year.
Right. It looks like a new team with a new energy, and I'm loving it. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, it'll be time for the Warlock's Locks, where he goes through his fantasy predictions with the 4 random tarot cards that he pulls out of the magic cheese head. When we come back, it'll be time for Warlock's Locks. little bit spooky, a little bit magical, maybe even. And
Okay.
it may even be time for Warlocks Locks here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When this fantastical music comes on, you know that means it's time for Warlocks Locks, where my guy Jack, the Wisconsin Warlock Pembroke over there, dives into his magic cheese head cauldron, where he pulls out 4 cards of any sport that we are choosing this week, and he gives you his fantasy prediction for those 4 players. Could be good, could be bad, could be a start, could be a sit. He'll let you know with each of these 4 guys. Jack, let's start off by pulling out that first card here for Warlocks Locks. Who do we have?
Boom. Pat Freiermuth.
Tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's had a little bit of an on and off season, with Aaron Rodgers being questionable for this game with that left wrist injury. This could be a game where Freiermuth is either relied on heavily by a guy like Mason Rudolph, or could be kind of ignored in favor of the running backs, in favor of maybe the wide receiver room and a DK Metcalf. They are taking on the Chicago Bears this weekend, one of the best teams when it comes to turnovers, especially in the deep part of the field. So that means the Steelers may be relying on kind of that midfield presence from a guy like Pat Freiermuth. Jack, what are your expectations for Steelers tight end?
There's been some issues with Aaron Rodgers, so if it's not an Aaron Rodgers go, I'm going to say sit Pat Freiermuth, because you have to have a better option at tight end in your league. Even if you're in a 14-man, 12-man, there's a Harold Fannin somewhere out there. There's a Jawan Johnson. There's lots of better options, but I think, look, he might be good for, you want to throw in a tight end touchdown parlay. Maybe he gets a nice little read in the red zone and is able to get you a touchdown, but I'm not putting him over 5 points.
That's fair, and I understand where you're coming from there. I guess my one question is, usually when like a backup quarterback comes into a game, so if Mason Rudolph were to play in this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, do you think that's a situation where a guy maybe leans on a safety net more than the starting quarterback could?
But I also think Jonnu Smith, their other tight end, is going to get looks too. They run a lot of twin tight end sets, so I feel that even if it does come to that, they're going to be dumping in Jalen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell, who actually have been so successful this season.
Jalen Warren's been awesome
catching out of the backfield. I mean, Gainwell showed us last week what he can do with a banged up Warren, and everyone's going to the waiver wires to go find them a Kenny Gainwell.
If we look at Jonnu Smith just real quick, to your point, he has 26 receptions on the season for only 163 yards. So he's been the short yardage guy for sure in that tight end room. Jack, who do you got next?
Okay.
Warlocks Locks.
We'll make it a good pick, hopefully.
First one was Pat Freiermuth and a sit by Jack Pembroke.
Yeah. I'm even sad to pull this one out.
Who do we got there?
Your boy DJ Moore.
DJ Moore has been overall pretty disappointing this season for the Chicago Bears. Their offense hasn't really been predicated on getting him the ball, though, like it has been in the past few years. Rome Odunze's got a lot more targets. The tight end room has seen a lot more targets. You're getting a run game where you're seeing 2 to 3 guys consistently getting the ball in that room. Jack, in a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the other side, a defense that struggled mightily this year, kind of different from what we've seen from Pittsburgh Steelers teams in the past. Do you think this is a game where the Bears can kind of be more experimental in a Ben Johnson offense and maybe get a DJ Moore the ball more in more unconventional ways?
They have been spreading it around. I feel like if you were going to stream a wide receiver from this team, it'd be Luther Burden. I feel like he's going to have a breakout game. He's kind of taken over that third position on this team. I just think
Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yeah. And I just think Rome Odunze just is like a Drake London for his team. He's getting 12 targets a game.
He's going to be there. Yeah. He's always going to be open.
So maybe DJ gives you 10 or 11 points this week. I hate to say it. It's going to be another sit.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a start in that situation either. I think DJ Moore is a guy that, again, will have a breakout game at some point at the end of the season here. He's going to have one of those games where he's going to put up 120 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then you're not going to see him again. This feels like it could potentially be that game, but at the same time, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers plays in this game, I feel like that's something that can maybe get into the Bears' mentality a little bit and hurt their offense to some degree. Jack, third up here on Warlock's Locks.
Okay, let's get a positive pick here. Okay.
What do we got there? CD Lamb?
Nice CD Lamb. What are we doing?
Run away.
Right, there we are.
CD Lamb. Well, that's a pretty cool
That's a
card.
cool
It's
card.
like a canvas painting.
Yeah.
Jack, what are your expectations for CD Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys this week? Last week, he missed the first drive of the game because him and George Pickens wanted to go party.
He was dehydrated.
Las
What are you
Vegas.
talking about?
He was dehydrated because he was probably throwing up all night from all the booze he was putting down.
He looked like a young Jack Pembroke freshman year at Madison.
But Dallas Cowboys are playing one of the toughest defenses in the NFL in the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming Sunday. It's a 3:25 matchup there. While they're playing one of the toughest defenses, they are one of the best offenses in the league in Dallas. Jack, what are your expectations for CD Lamb in a situation?
CD Lamb's going to get fed. I would definitely, if you're throwing down like a little parlay this weekend for touchdown parlay, I would put him for an anytime touchdown. He seems to have taken away a lot of the touches their tight end Jake was getting. Yep, Jake Ferguson. And I just think the trust is there. CD is going to give you above 19 points this week.
I feel like he has to. I think in a game like this against the Philadelphia Eagles, you win by your stars showing up. Yeah. And you win by your best players having their best game.
6 catches, 70 plus yards, and about the IBM Watson would give you a touchdown and a half, but he's definitely getting over a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. CeeDee Lamb generally is a start for most leagues. This is a situation where I think he could probably be a wide receiver 1 in this game. The Eagles, again, have played a lot of tough defensive games so far the past just 3 weeks. This is a situation where I feel like they could have a little bit of a flub, mess up a little bit, and the Cowboys offense could take advantage, and that's CeeDee Lamb right there to be the guy to take advantage.
And they have to also cover George Pickens, so I think CeeDee's going to get a lot of single coverage.
Hopefully. We will see there for Warlock's Locks here on the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Show on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Jack, the fourth and final pick for Warlock's Locks.
All right.
Here.
Okay.
Who do we got there?
I've got him starting for myself this week.
Michael Pittman.
No, Alec Pierce.
Oh, that's Alec Pierce.
It's okay. Nice guess.
I can see Colts. That's all.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, and it's very tiny. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
There you go.
Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce, who, if you listened in 2 weeks ago, we locked him into a flex play because he was only projected 10 points, but we said, hey, he'll put up over 17. He put up 18. I think Alex Pierce has shown that he is the trusted wide receiver when Indiana Jones wants to throw down the field. Man, back-to-back weeks of 18 plus in PPR.
But talk about a tough defense that you're playing again this week. The Indianapolis Colts have a matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. The Chiefs are sitting at 5-5, but when you watch them play football games, you can tell that they're still built for the playoffs. They're still built for the end of the season, that if they can get there, they'll be okay. This feels like a game where the more experienced team could probably shut down a hot Indianapolis Colts team that just has defied expectations this year. Kind of feels like a game where the Chiefs may put the Colts into their place, but at the same time, if they don't, I think Alec Pierce could be a guy who steps up in this offense. Also, I feel like to beat the Chiefs, you do it by relying on your stars. And I think that means Michael Pittman probably gets a few more targets than an Alec Pierce in a game like this, and Jonathan Taylor's going to go out there and just be a majority of that offense.
I think they're going to try and stop Tyler Warren. So I think it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be a Pittman and Alec Pierce type game. Alec Pierce has just gotten targeted more than Michael Pittman the last 3 weeks. And I just think that at this point in the fantasy season, you ride consistency, don't you?
Maybe, but also look at the teams they played in the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
It's the Tennessee Titans, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
That's 3 of the worst defenses in the entire NFL.
You got to play the games on your schedule.
I get it, but at the same time,
you're right.
When you're those teams, when they are playing defense, they are so locked in on Tyler Warren and on
Michael Pittman.
because they have to be.
Yeah.
If they don't, they're going to get killed by those guys.
Yeah.
So then they end up being a little lax on a guy like an Alex Pierce. The Chiefs aren't in that same boat.
That's true. I think so. I don't think Alec Pierce goes. I think he's a start, but he's a flex. I think if you're looking for 15 points, whether it's in PPR or half PPR, he's going to give you somewhere right around 14 to 15 points. I think he gets you a touchdown, and I think he gets you about 50 to 60 yards and about 4 catches. So he could give you easily about 15 points this week. So I think you flex him.
All right. I love to hear it. Let's run back through what we got in Warlocks Locks here. Pat Fryermuth, tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is a sit against the Bears. On the other side of the ball, DJ Moore for the Bears against the Pittsburgh Steelers is also a sit this week. CD Lamb, put him in your starting lineup, make him the wide receiver one this time around. He is going to have a big game against Philadelphia Eagles. And then Alec Pierce is a start, but maybe in that flex position against the Kansas City Chiefs. That will do it for Warlocks Locks this week. Let us know how you think the Warlock did over there. If we made some good picks, if we helped out your fantasy teams this upcoming week, we'd love to hear it. Coming up next on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, we are going to dive into the Wisconsin Sports Weekend pub crawl, where we go back and forth, sharing things from the sports world that you may have missed. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. It's kind of funky, but I don't think it sounds very right.
I feel like we need to go to.
That's
A fiddle.
That sounds
That's
about
a
right.
fiddle.
That sounds about right. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When the Irish jig kicks on in here, you know it's time for the pub crawl. Jack and I will go back and forth sharing things we learned, saw, maybe you might have missed throughout the sports world. Sometimes Jack likes to dive into some science to make us feel a little more smart, because science is not my thing.
Science.
I can read good. I can read and talk
You
good.
read good.
I read real good. But we are going to go back and forth sharing some of the top things that we saw from across the sports world here. I'm going to start off discussing the Los Angeles Lakers and kind of the drama that's going on over there with that organization. Jeannie Buss fired her two brothers who were part of the front office of Los Angeles Lakers. Both of them are minority owners. Jesse Buss and Joey Buss, her two younger brothers in this situation, were let go effective immediately. Apparently, it was due to their decision to say no to the sale of the team to the Walters family, which I think is kind of an interesting look at this. Jeannie Buss seems like she just really does not want anything to do with this squad.
Cold-blooded.
That also comes up after it is reported by Shams Charania that the Lakers are being investigated by the FBI due to their semi-connection to the whole betting scandal that's been going on, the gambling scandal that's been going on in the NBA. And LeBron James has been investigated as well. So both of those entities are being looked at. It's nothing really serious. I think they're just doing it kind of take them off the list for the most part.
Dame Jones is involved too.
But that's the reason. That's why they want to dive into the Lakers and LeBron, because he has worked with Damian Jones. And that is the reason that they want to get into that. So this could be something that ends up being huge, or maybe a little bit of nothing. We will see. Jack, what do you got up first here for the pub crawl, my man?
Okay, so first thing for the pub crawl, I've got a TD touchdown, anytime touchdown parlay for our Crystal Cheese Ball play of the weekend. It might seem simple, but hey, throw 10 or 15 bucks down and make yourself, a nice little win.
All right, let's hear it.
But let's see. CD Lamb, anytime. Christian Watson, anytime. And George Kittle, anytime.
All right. I like that. That seems pretty reasonable to me. Looking at that parlay, I would say that George Kittle's the only one that I'm a little concerned about. I think personally, I would go Colson Loveland touchdown.
Ooh, okay. That's the gentle giant touch.
Colson Loveland. Stick him in there. Maybe make it a four-legger.
Okay, let's do that. We're doing it. It's a four-legger now.
All right. Let's move on over to college football on my side of the pub crawl again here. As we look at the latest college football playoff rankings, you got Ohio State still leading the trend up there with Indiana number 2, Texas A&M number 3, Georgia number 4, Texas Tech number 5, and sitting at number 6 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss was not very happy about sitting down there at number 6 in the most recent rankings. They felt like they deserved that first round bye over teams like Georgia and Texas A&M. Georgia specifically is the team that they were most mad about getting ranked above them. Recent wins seem to have played a big role in why they're pushing Georgia a little bit ahead. Do you think Ole Miss has a reason to be mad in this situation?
A little bit, but look, you're in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Just win the games. I know people are going to nitpick and say, well, we want to be home, because those games are interesting. I loved when Penn State had to play in the cold and you see these.
And if you're the top 4 seed, you get the bye.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason too. That's why they
totally understand. But look, the season's not over yet. You got time to get some wins. Win out and control your destiny. That's what I say to Ole Miss fans.
There you go. I like that. Be a man. Win out. Do it yourself.
Do it the hard way.
There you go. I love it, Jack. What do you got up second here on the pub crawl for
so
yourself?
A little biased shout out for our viewers that don't know, I play a sport called disc golf. For the third year running, I'll be sponsored by Cardinal Disc Golf. They are they're the best clothing gear company in the game, and they sponsor the number 1 world holder for that position, and a bunch of other top pros. So, and we'll talk to Kevin Fodry, who's the co-CEO of Cardinal next week.
Yeah, we'll talk with him next week on our segment that we recently branded Out of Bounds, where we dive into a sport that may not be as popular across the state of Wisconsin. Talk with some people from all across the state, sharing what they love to do and give you a little information about things like disc golf. Or a couple weeks ago when we talked with Emily Oberst and Tony, where they helped us learn about wheelchair basketball and adaptive sports.
And wheelchair rugby.
Exactly. It was wheelchair rugby, by the way, is very much a workout. I don't know if I said it on this. Like, I went out there.
No, you texted me outside of work, and we're like, that was more work than I thought.
I don't think my arms worked for like the next 2 days after that, man. It was something else. All right. Next up on my side of the pub crawl here, as we look at Badgers prospects and recruiting, as the first early signing date has opened up this past week. Wisconsin Badgers lost 2 of their top offensive line commits this past week to Indiana, 1. And then the other guy just opened up, Maddox Cochran. He opened up his recruiting back up over to the west side. So he's looking at like West Virginia schools over on the East Coast over there. These 2 players were the only 2 offensive line commits for the Wisconsin Badgers at this point in the recruiting cycle. Which means they currently have 0 offensive line
Don't
recruits.
get me started.
At the same time, they did go out and get a 4-star wide receiver,
Yeah,
a 3-star running
positive.
back to bring into this roster. So I think those are both really positive. You can't really do anything without an offensive line in front of you.
Yeah, as Charlie would tell our viewers, he was a sure-footed offensive lineman. You need the big boys up front in the Big Ten.
I don't know if I was that sure-footed, but I appreciate the sentiment. Jack, last up here on the pub crawl for you, my man.
So another bias plug for my father's home country of Ireland. They have qualified for the World Cup.
Nice.
And they did it with Tony Parrott scoring off a goalkeeper kick from half field, and he touched it in with the 96th minute to beat Hungary.
Awesome. Congratulations to Ireland. That's a lot of fun. I'll be cheering them on for you guys.
Yeah, I'll get you a jersey.
I appreciate that. I really like I forget what Nigeria. I think they had really cool
the
jerseys.
Super Eagles. Mm-hmm. The Super Eagles, dude. Better
really
than
awesome.
an eagle. What's better than an eagle? Super Eagle,
baby. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Our guy Q in the dugout says it's always fun getting Saturday chores done while hanging with you guys. Thanks for keeping me entertained. Q, thanks for entertaining with us. We love you. We love having you guys all listen to us. Stay tuned for the Green Bay football postgame show tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 5 with myself and Tommy Wirtz. Again, this has been Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek Superstar flavor.